All right, so today we're diving into World of Warcraft add-ons, and specifically, we're going to be looking at one called TopCombat.
Okay.
And we found this one on CurseForge, and it seems like it's really caught the attention of a lot of players.
Yeah.
Over 10,000 downloads.
Wow. Yeah, 10,000 downloads. That's pretty significant when you think about it in terms of the grand scheme of World of Warcraft.
Right.
That's a lot of people potentially using this in their matches.
Yeah, are we talking like a significant chunk of like the PvP player base, would you say?
I would say so, especially when you consider that not every WoW player is actively engaging in PvP all the time. So to have 10,000 downloads specifically for a PvP add-on,
Yeah.
that's saying something.
Yeah, that's a good point. So clearly something about this add-on is resonating with players. And one thing that caught my eye right away was the tagline. It says, not only healers have to die. Pretty bold statement, don't you think?
It is bold,
Ah.
and it kind of hints at what this add-on is all about. Changing the focus in those intense player versus player battles.
So I guess for those who might not be super familiar with like WoW strategy, why is targeting healers such a big deal in the first place?
Well, healers are essentially the lifeline of any team in WoW. They're the ones keeping everyone alive and in the fight.
Right, makes sense.
So traditionally, taking down the healer first has been like a go-to tactic in PvP.
Yeah, like eliminating the support role in any game.
Exactly.
So TopCombat is trying to shake things up a bit. It's not just about going after the healer anymore. It's about figuring out who is truly the most dangerous player on the other team.
Precisely.
Interesting. So how does it actually do that? How does it help you figure out who to target?
Well, imagine you're in the middle of this huge battleground, right?
Yeah.
Chaos everywhere. TopCombat analyzes everything that's happening in real time. Like who's doing the most damage, who's interrupting the most spells. And then it gives you these little visual cues. It puts icons right on the enemy nameplates.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you don't have to like dig through menus or anything. You can immediately see who the biggest threats are just by glancing at them.
So it's like having a sixth sense for danger, almost?
Exactly.
And those icons, they're not just like generic symbols, are they?
No, they're very specific. So you'll see things like top DPS, top damager, top interrupter,
Oh, wow.
all color-coded. So you can instantly tell who you need to focus on.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's all about making those split-second decisions in the heat of battle.
So instead of just assuming the healer is public enemy number one, TopCombat helps you figure out who is actually the biggest threat at any given moment. That's pretty cool.
It is. And it does it in a really intuitive way. Imagine you're in the middle of a chaotic battleground. TopCombat analyzes everything happening in real time and then puts these little icons right on enemy nameplates. So you'll see things like top DPS, top damager, or even top interrupter, all color-coded for instant recognition.
Wow, so it's like having X-ray vision for the opposing team. Instead of just seeing a jumbled mess of players, you can immediately tell who's dishing out the pain and who to focus on.
Precisely. And that kind of information can completely change how you approach a fight. Let's say you see a rogue with the top damager icon over their head. Suddenly you know this isn't just any rogue, they're capable of bursting down targets quickly. Do you try to lock them down with crowd control? Focus fire on them with your team? The decision becomes much more strategic.
That's such a good point. It reminds me of playing a MOBA like League of Legends. Sometimes you need to ignore the tanky front line and go straight for the enemy carry who's racking up kills. TopCombat seems to bring that same level of strategic thinking to WoW PvP.
Absolutely. And this idea of knowing who to target is crucial in all sorts of competitive games. Think about traditional sports like basketball or football, where knowing who to guard or double team can completely swing the momentum of a game. TopCombat is bringing that same awareness to WoW's battlegrounds.
And to make things even more interesting, you mentioned that TopCombat can actually hook into another popular add-on details.
Right.
What does that add to the mix?
You're right, it's all about the synergy. Details is all about tracking damage output in meticulous detail. So if you have both add-ons running, TopCombat can pull even more precise data into its calculations. This means the icons it displays are even more accurate representations of who is truly carrying the fight for the enemy team. Okay, so we're talking next level strategy here. But all this talk of strategic advantages and information makes you wonder, where does Blizzard stand on all this? Are add-ons like TopCombat considered cheating?
That's a great question. It's like this weird gray area, right? Like, when does using an add-on cross the line into like unfair advantage?
It's true. There's always been this debate in gaming. But what's considered playing smart versus like straight up cheating. But the interesting thing about WoW is that Blizzard has actually been very open to add-ons.
Yeah, that's true.
They even have an official API. which basically means they're giving developers the tools to create these add-ons.
So they're not totally against the idea.
Exactly. They see it as a way to let players customize their experience and potentially make the game even better.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, think about it. Giving players the freedom to tweak things to their liking, it can really add to the enjoyment and the longevity of a game.
Absolutely. It's like they're embracing the creativity of the community.
Totally. And speaking of community, I noticed that the developer behind TopCombat, they go by PVPXTV. They've actually created a bunch of other add-ons too.
Oh yeah, they have. They seem to really specialize in PvP-focused add-ons.
Yeah, and one that caught my eye was called Warcult. Sounds kind of intense.
It does sound pretty hardcore.
Do you know much about it?
I haven't had a chance to try it myself, but from what I've heard, it basically gamifies the whole PvP experience even further.
Gamifies it.
How? Well, apparently you earn points for your kills, but then you can sacrifice those points to do something.
To do something?
Yeah, they're being kind of mysterious about the specifics, but it sounds like you can unleash some pretty crazy powerful abilities or something.
Whoa, okay. That's both intriguing and a little terrifying.
Right. It definitely adds a whole other layer to the game.
And I bet it would pair really well with TopCombat.
Oh, absolutely. Can you imagine? You're in the heat of battle. You use TopCombat to identify the biggest threat on the enemy team. You take them down, and then boom, you get this huge influx of Warcult points that you can use to unleash chaos.
That would be insane. All right, so to kind of bring things together here, we've got TopCombat, which helps you make smarter decisions in PvP by highlighting the most dangerous opponents. And then you've got add-ons like Warcult, which add this whole other layer of gamification and strategy on top of that.
It's like a whole ecosystem of add-ons that can completely change the way you experience World of Warcraft.
It really is. It makes you wonder, like, do these add-ons make the game more accessible to new players?
That's a great question.
Or do they actually create a steeper learning curve?
Right, because now you've got this whole other set of tools and information to learn and